Welcome back to the Alan Nathan Show, everybody. You're still joined by Robert Weiner, Democratic strategist, columnist, and former communications director for Clinton drug czar General Barry McCaffrey. Bob, thanks for still sticking around here. I got to ask.
Thanks a lot.
I got to ask now about someone who didn't stick around, Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
If he were a private citizen, I could understand what he did. It's we're freezing our butts off here, no electricity, let's get out of the way, and we can afford to do that. But as senator, even though he did like everything he could as senator before he left and sent the letter or whatever it was, the optics are just god awful.
Well, his optics were a lot more awful in the hearing when he and Hawley and Ron Johnson are making up stuff. The big lie continued. It continued in assessing the Capitol riots. But yes, Cruz was the Cancun kid going off on vacation while Texas froze. And boy, did he get back in a hurry. Instead of coming back on Saturday, coming back right away when he saw that feedback. And suddenly he's out there handing out warm gloves or whatever he was doing to everybody. So it was, I don't think it'll have long effects. But I do remember when Chris Christie sat on the beach after he told everybody else not to go, and he was laying out there on the lawn chair, you remember? And he paid that price big time by being isolated by the White House from there on because the optics were so bad. Cruz gets to recover in the Senate and on the streets of Texas, so I guess he'll be all right. It might be a chip away, and it certainly is going to be an ad against him if he tries to run for president.
Yeah, I really just hope he doesn't say, I was there with you, Texas, during the winter storm.
Yeah, really.
You would think, though, as long as he's been in the Senate and in politics, that he would have known better by now.
I think he didn't realize. Really? You think in this day and age nobody's going to recognize you as you go? and that marvelous technology. Use your cell phone to take a picture. I mean, luckily we've got that protecting us not only from things like Ted Cruz going to Cancun, but police brutality now. So at least, I think that's a development. It's Big Brother, except that all the citizens have the big, too, so not just the brother.
Mm-hmm. Now, also part of it was apparently some of the tweets between his wife and some of her friends were leaked to the New York Times. I guess, some friends they turned out to be.
Is that right? That's something I hadn't heard, so, yeah, okay. Saying
yeah.
What? We're going away on vacation, get out of this cold?
Basically something along those lines. I didn't read what they actually were. I just saw the headline that some tweets for planning it that were just between the friends or whatever ended up being leaked. And it's like, wow, just nothing anymore is sacred.
I don't disagree with it. When we've had the big freezes here and the power went off in our house, I said to Pat, my wife, who's actually listening to the show as we speak, and Alan knows Pat
Hello.
very well, and we were all friends. But we said, let's get out of here. Let's go to a hotel tonight. I mean, you do that. That's what you do. But certainly if you're a senator, you don't leave the crisis when it was the dimensions of $17,000 electric bills by the greedy power companies. Really? I don't understand how they didn't put a stop on their credit card, by the way, and tell them block the payment.
Yeah, well, I don't think they realized that was coming. What I read about that story was the way that particular power company operated. They were selling electricity wholesale based on the wholesale value, which normally would be cheaper than a regular power company. And then in advance of the storm, they warned that their rates would start skyrocketing, but the users couldn't find another power company that would take them before the storm started. And so, sure enough, as was warned, the rates skyrocketed until they reached the cap that Texas set, which was, I guess, $17,000.
Well, I asked in the White House briefing, I asked Bossert, I forget what his first name is, John Bossert or whatever his name was, who was the guy who was in charge of oil pricing, and he told me, he told the world in the White House briefing when I asked the question, that federal law blocks price gouging, and that he would attack anyone who tried to do it. I have not heard that strategy used here, but the problem may be that Texas decided not to go, the only state in the union with the federal guidelines on that issue on energy and power. So That's the problem. Texas was too big for its britches, thought it knew better about government, went with a no regulation system, and now all of its citizens are paying the price literally, and have every reason to be angry at their politicians. Although they actually were kind of happy about the pride of Texas not being part of a federal government situation until this hit.
Yeah, and then the disaster relief rolled out too. Biden only did partial. Now, what was his reasoning for that exactly? Only 77 counties out of, I guess, 244. Was it that he said he was waiting for more information, right?
Well, that's not unreasonable. I'm sure he'll get there if it merits it. Biden doesn't govern, red or blue, and he made that commitment, and he certainly went there. And look, he didn't throw paper towels at the people anyway. And he's headed there, this week?
Oh, he is heading there. Okay. Last I heard, he said that he was not going to travel immediately because he didn't want to overcomplicate matters by his presence in the disaster zone or whatever. Like, divert resources from disaster relief to
he did make that decision earlier, but now he's going, and I believe it's scheduled, if I'm not mistaken, for Friday.
Oh, okay.
But probably I didn't hear that, not tomorrow. Probably next week is what So, but he is going, and it is on the White House calendar.
Okay. Yep. Gotta keep the optics in mind. I actually agreed with his reasoning on that matter, staying out of the way. And personally, if Ted Cruz said that that's what he was doing by, I can afford to be out of there, you guys can't. Personally, I think that would have been acceptable. But optics are totally different.
I say no because he needed to get FEMA, he needed to get Small Business Association loans, he needed to get money mobilized from the feds in a hurry to help the people who were hit by this freeze. So that was his job. That's what you do as a federal Congress or senator caseworker is as a national organizer, you get the federal agencies involved, and then you help your specific constituents with problems. So no, that doesn't cut it.
Okay. I thought he had done all that before he left. Anyway, I read that he had done whatever he could have done at that time before he left, in order for FEMA, for example, to become involved.
As he left, it was snowballing.
Oh. So he left at the wrong time, then. He did everything before, but there was more to do, and he left before he did the more that there was to do.
Right.
Okay. Well, in that case, that was really a terrible move on his part. Oh, Bob Weiner, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate that you didn't bail out in the middle of the segment.
Yep, right.
And listeners, thank you for joining us on the Al and Nathan Show today as well. I'm glad you all didn't bail on us like Ted Cruz as the show was snowballing and building to this ultimate conclusion.